That's awesome.
Because we need to stand out, because in a place like Austin, or just today in this digital age that we're living in, there's so many startups, just like there's so many agencies.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's about standing out, and we like to think if a cucumber can become a pickle, we can help our clients become anything.
Come on, that's a good tagline. Tired of your agency running you instead of the other way around? What if you could boost your profits while keeping your team front and center and rediscover the drive that got you started in the first place? Agency Builders is where agency leaders come together to scale up without burning out. Whether you want more freedom, higher profits, a clear sense of purpose, this community offers the peers, events, and support that you need. Agency life is tough, but it's easier when you're not doing it alone. Check out agencybuilders.com to join the community and explore upcoming events, including the 4th annual Agency Builders Retreat in St. Augustine, Florida, March 2025. Visit agencybuilders.com to learn more and join today. Welcome to Agency Insiders. It's been such an incredible journey getting to know different agency owners from all walks of life. Some just getting started, some that are very experienced in what they do, but all share a common interest. We're here to build a business, to help customers, fulfill their vision and to be able to see the product or the project come to life. And this is how it's done. It's done through agencies and agency owners who carry the same type of vision to help these different types of people excel in everything that they do. And today I have a special guest. This man, Dax Patton, has an incredible, I was just checking out his website before we got on the call. It's called Pickled Agency. I actually want to know where that name came from, Dax. We'll get into that. But Pickled Agency really helps businesses go to market, gain traction, and scale faster. And if you're checking out their website, it's really cool. They help you launch, validate, and accelerate, whether it's a product or a project, whatever it may be. And that is the type of agency that you really want to find. You want to find that type of agency that has these different abilities, not just to create a great product, but be able to get it to market and scale from there. And we'll kind of unpack that. I'm kind of curious exactly how that happens. And so I know Dax will jump into that. But for all of the agency owners out there, as always, I just want to encourage you, don't stop. We know it's kind of a lonely road from time to time, but hey, you got people like us that are also working every single day to do what we've been called to do as agency owners. And so I just want to always encourage you, for those that are watching, don't stop. But let's jump into this today. Dax, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for giving your time and being willing to jump on the show. So Dax, kind of break it down. Give us a little high-level view of who you are, how long you've been doing business, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you all having me. And yeah, like you said, I'm Dax Patton, founder, owner of Pickled Agency. I have a few other ventures as well. Just launched a 501c3 nonprofit this year. I've got a consulting business, got a campground, got some real estate.
Come on, man. Things. That's awesome.
But I've been in the professional world for over 15 years.
Wow.
From sales and marketing, bootstrapping businesses, startups, to working in one of the largest conference and festivals in the world called South by Southwest.
Wow, okay.
But yeah, in 2021, we actually started Pickled Agency, and mainly because we enjoyed working with small businesses, with startups, with crazy big ideas, and helping bring them to life.
Wow.
And so I always wanted my own marketing agency and had the opportunity a few years ago and took that big leap and haven't looked back. It's now been 3.5 years.
That's incredible. So tell me, Dax, Pickled Agency, what brought you to create this name? I love the branding. I actually looking at the website right now. There's this fork that's like turning around. I was like, this is cool. I'm like trying to figure out how you came up with that idea. So Break it down to me. Pickled Agency. Why this name, and what does it mean to you?
Oh, well, I do love pickles.
I do. Do you like all types of pickles, like sweet pickles, salty
Anything
pickles?
fermented. Mainly a sour person. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a funny story. So when I first started the agency, I had a co-founder. He's an attorney, gone tech entrepreneur, one of my best buddies, still my attorney. But yeah, we were sitting there and talking about starting an agency, and of course, sitting having a beer and talking about ideas. What could we name this thing? And there we are on our laptops and checking Google domains and seeing what options we got out there and doing some quick, reverse engineering and on names. And I would say we spent a lot more time on it, but we would always go on these trips, and when we were on these road trips, we would go buy pickled quail eggs.
I love those pickled quail eggs, man. Yeah, that's good stuff right there.
Exactly. And so we were like, okay, pickled. And then Pickled Agency, well, that makes sense. We would know what we do. And then from there, we looked on Google domains, and I think the domain was $12. And that's when Pickled Agency was born.
That's awesome.
Over beers.
That's when it was conceived. It was fermented into the timeline. That's awesome.
With clients, I do much more extensive discovery and exploration processes.
No, this is the rawness that we're looking for, because we all, as agency owners, we all know how the names come. And when I created the name Humify, I was actually in a grocery store and I was walking and I was like, there has to be a better way that we're a staffing agency, so we're a remote staffing agency, so we staff out different people from all over the world and connect them with agencies like yours. And I was like walking, I was like, there has to be a better way, like a more humanized way to do this, And I was like, humification, or hummus, I was like going through the names. And I think because I was in the food aisle, so I was like checking out, I think I was like passing by hummus. And so all of a sudden the name Humify came. And I love that, because that's like, it's different. And I think that's actually what I want to talk to you about today, is like being different and, really standing out, because you and I both know there's so many agencies out there, and it's getting harder and harder to be able to, I would say, to be able to differentiate yourself from other people. So you got to be creative. You got to kind of stand out. And that's why I love just Pickled Agency. That name is like, all right, that's actually kind of that first kind of differentiator. Like, you guys are different in what you do. Can you kind of break it down to me about like this 3-step process? Because I'm looking at it, you launch, you validate, you accelerate. And I know it's kind of a really big ask for you, like, to kind of break that down. But what brought you to have this type of process of launching, validating, and accelerating? Like, what things did you see in the market? How is it working for you in this kind of process, this different type of framework that makes you stand out?
Yeah, great question. And, we're from Austin, Texas. And so, we're a remote company that's home. It's a very startup, this tech hub, we call it Silicon Hills.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and, I've been in startups since 2010, bootstrapping startups. I've also worked at corporate companies, and I've worked at the in-between. And I've noticed that, and this isn't really our process, it's kind of our focus is.
That's good.
So, go to market obviously is for those early stage companies, and we don't work with all the early stage companies because, we like to be select and have to go where the budgets are. And so, but for some of those serial entrepreneurs, or those entrepreneurs that maybe have some early traction, maybe funding and stuff like that, we want to work with them because I've lived the hardships.
Mm.
I spent multiple years, or over 5 years, bootstrapping businesses. I've spent, wow, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 10 years bootstrapping businesses.
Come on, man.
And so we really understand, what it takes and the timing and
That's good.
all those things that are so important.
That's good.
For getting and accelerating through this go-to-market process.
Wow.
So when we're for our go-to-market clients, those are the early stages. Those are the things where we're helping because they maybe don't have a digital footprint.
Yeah.
So we're a full-service digital agency, and whether it's naming the company, we've done that through discovery and exploration processes.
Wow, that's cool.
It's the UI, UX, the preliminary stages. It's the marketing plans. So going into like the research and the discovery and why, setting goals and all those things. And from there, moving to a plan, a go-to-market plan that's very detailed, that they could do it themselves or, give it to an agency like us to keep going.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
We want to empower these people because we know how volatile the startup, life can be. And so we want to be efficient, cost-effective, but very strategic and smart and creative.
That's awesome.
Because we need to stand out. Because in a place like Austin or just today in this digital age that we're living in, there's so many startups, just like there's so many agencies.
Yep.
And so it's about standing out. And we like to think if a cucumber can become a pickle, we can help our clients become anything.
Come on, that's a good tagline. That's good. That's good. I love it. No, let's go with that one. So, okay, so we were talking about this. You're the founder, and you started this, and moved to where it is today. From what you just told me, I mean, that's beautiful to be able to kind of be able to help people, whatever entry point they're coming in from, whether they don't have a name, they don't have a digital imprint, they don't even really know, they kind of have the idea, they have the vision, but they don't really know how to get that, off the ground. My question to you as the founder, when you first started, were you the guy wearing all the hats? Were you the guy that was just doing everything? Kind of bring me back to the early stages of when Pickled Agency started. I'm curious about that because it will lead me to my next question. But I just want to know, the beginning stages of your company. How was it with you? What were you doing? Because were you doing these very things by yourself? So yeah, kind of break that down for me.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. And like you and your buddy Jake, we were running our individual agencies. I was running my own small agency consulting business, Dax Patton LLC. My other buddy was running his business and his own agency. It was basically his name. And and we were doing the same thing. We were working with one another because he was heavy on this and I was heavy on that. And we were like, man, why are we working separately? Because we were at those early stages of our businesses. And actually, it was kind of timing and we knew each other. I don't usually push working with friends all the time. Yeah,
but, it could be very delicate.
Right, but when you find somebody that complements each other so well, he's an attorney by trade, serial entrepreneur, very tech heavy. I'm the marketing and strategy person, the creative, the sales and biz dev and then, project management and all the skill sets, And so when we started, we were kind of splitting it up, but we were being more strategic on the business side because we started this, we're self-funded, all that good stuff. And so we really just found the first client that we were up on, and we used those funds to pay for our first LLC or the LLC, and then, you know, united and do the whole deal.
That's awesome.
And so that's kind of how that started, but it really started a little bit before that, because, you know, in university, yeah, I went to school for marketing and advertising, never worked traditionally in those. I was always an entrepreneur, so those were some of my clients and things like that, but I had this drive and this interest and this passion to have this agency, because I felt that would be like a foundation where I could build something bigger, do more as an entrepreneur. And so this was kind of my re-entry into entrepreneurship, and I saw having a marketing agency getting to accomplish and do something I love and I know so much about, but it also gave me a foundation in teams and skill sets that we could build something bigger if that need arose. So yeah, that it excites me, and it gives me a lot more value today than, you know, I've ever had before.
That's so cool.
And while me and my business partner aren't, you know, I bought him out and I own the company 100%. It was a beautiful separation, and
That's
I'm very
awesome,
thankful for
that's
that,
so
because
cool.
that's not always the case.
Yeah, and that's a blessing to have that.
Lawyer.
That's incredible. Yeah, now he can be your lawyer. So about the process, because you mentioned about business development. How was it in the beginning? Were you the one that was? I mean, I don't know your background. Like, are you creative? Were you the one that was doing like the strategy sessions, the development, the implementation? Like, kind of bring me back to that moment in time, which led you to where you are today. And I'm curious about how it is today in regards to the structure, the framework, the hierarchy, like how it functions, without giving away too much secret sauce. But let's go back to the beginning. How was it with you? Because you guys have so many, like the way that you structure your focus points. How was that in the beginning for you as the owner?
Yeah, that's where it kind of came up to, you know, the co-founders and kind of strategically doing what's best for the business. And so, you know, he had his agency, and he was also general counsel for a tech company. And so there was an opportunity for me to come in and put my full focus, you know, kind of bring our clientele, bring his clientele,
that merging,
and protect that, build that, strengthen that. And so I jumped in as project manager, as everything. We had a kind of a white label agency, a lot of web dev, SEO, technical, and content. And then, so I started managing all of that. We had about 15 active website projects. We had about 15 SEO specialists. And it was really good. You know, my clients, they were startups, and a lot of the strategy, and I was using his team for the web development. And
that's cool. So, that's incredible. That's awesome, man.
And so I was able to hone in and focus 100% on our business. I was project managing, I was running the team, I was creative director, I was copywriter.
Just get it done.
The voice that we didn't have.
Yeah.
But I was much more of a marketer in a lot of those things traditionally than he was. And so it came naturally, it was easy. And because we were working together, it allowed us to ramp up this company a lot quicker.
That's great.
But I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that kind of leads me into my next question, where you guys are at today, because you mentioned that you guys are a remote company. We're also a fully remote company. I think it's just, it kind of makes sense in today's digital landscape, and you can get things done a lot faster, in my opinion, and more efficiently, if the structure's right. So my question to you is like, how do you, and this is like very kind of a high level, more executive type of question, but like, how do you, because I know other agency owners are probably thinking this, is how do you maintain a culture, like a healthy culture, as you scale, as you grow on the digital landscape, like because you're wanting to build your company, you want to have culture in your company, because that reflects in the types of products that you guys are able to develop. How do you work with culture inside of your company with it being remote? Because that's like the question a lot of agency owners, like, how can I maintain culture if I don't physically see these people all of the time? Or like, how do I do this? So what is it that you do? What does Dax do as the head, the head leader? What do you do to maintain or build culture, build or maintain culture within your company?
Yeah, that's also a good question.
I'm throwing good questions. That making me feel good.
And yeah, so early in my career, I was in staffing and recruiting, like you, Ryan, and I refer to that as a blessing. I entered the job market in, '08 and during the Great Recession, and, luckily found a corporate job and got to move to Dallas and, learn the staffing and recruiting, how important people are to an organization at a very early age, fresh out of college. Shaving every day and wearing a tie. And that was such an important first job that I never knew I needed. And it taught me the hiring process.
Wow.
And I worked at a large organization called Aerotech, and they're a multi-billion-dollar staffing company and multi-million-dollar training programs. And but it really kind of came down to a 3-step process, right? They call this one a G2, which was a gathering intel. They said it was an old military term. So G2 was like gathering intel. So you call up a candidate or find a candidate, and you'd have their resume right in front of you, and you'd go top to bottom, through each of their employments. How'd you find this job? Why'd you, what you do there? And why'd you leave? All the way through. And then, so that was, if everything came up right, cool. And, you kind of had that video call or that phone call, whatever it was. You had a lot by speaking with somebody. And then from there, you went through, if that was good, you invited them in for face-to-face, or let's call it video to video. Did they arrive early? Were they on time? Were they dressed in press? They made eye contact? Were they personal? All those soft skills, And then, and then you make sure, of course, they got the hard skills and to have those skill sets and find what's going to fit the bill, you got to find out what motivates these people as well, and what's most important to them. What are their goals? You find out all those things. And then once that all aligns, the third and the most important one is checking references.
There you go, man.
2 or 3 professional references, and it doesn't always mean those ones that they give you, right? I always wanted to talk to the boss's boss, right?
That's good.
That's the one that's going to give you the real rundown. And it's so many people, even in these big companies I've worked for in the past, they skip those processes. I'm sure my references weren't always checked. I actually know my references weren't checked when I worked at one of these organizations in my career. And that was just wild to me. Because you would save yourself so much headache, so much money, so much time if you follow these 3 simple steps. And I'm so fortunate to have learned that early on in my career.
That's awesome.
So that was the gatekeeper, right? And so then we get into the culture, and so that's what protected us from getting into the organization and getting into our culture, right?
That's really good. Yep.
And also allowing people to, meet with your other team members, your management, and of course, involve them in the hiring process. But then with the culture, I was working at an organization and I created an internship program actually, and I was running kind of this whole spiel. I grew this, and it was just. Let me go back. I think the most important question I ask these people, or this maybe the task or practice that I do, is before they come on, I ask them what the first 5 goals. I ask them to write 5 goals for this job.
That's cool.
And I tell them I'm going to do the same for them. And so once we do that, we actually share those goals with one another. And so I can see what really motivates them, and they can see what motivates me.
That's really good. That's really good.
And I've noticed with these steps and the process, proven process, and then a little bit of something that complements our culture and things, I think that's what has been able to allow us to keep that. And most of my team members have been with us for pretty much the entire time we've been in business.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And I think that really reflects, that retention rate reflects on what you just said. I mean, first G2, right? Gathering intel, then your VV, or if it's personal, in person or via video, that moment. And then he said, check the references of the references. And then I love what you said. It's these 3 things protect the culture. I love that. I'm gonna steal that, man. So Dax, that's coming from Dax. So I'll definitely take that. I'm gonna give it to our COO today. And then I love what you said. It's and this is something that I think we definitely need to implement in ours. And so anybody that's watching this, I would encourage you is have this kind of process where they write down 5 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals, whatever it may be. They write it and then you write it. I think that aligns the expectation. And I think that creates it. I mean, right there, you just create a culture. And I was actually listening to the CEO of Airbnb, really good interview. It's an hour-and-a-half interview that this guy had with with him. And it was really cool. And he kind of touched base on the hiring process, HR, and how the goals are. He didn't say it's exactly this way, but I think one thing that I really took from that podcast is you have to make sure that the lines of communication are clear, the expectations are clear, and then live that out, because that is where culture is. That's how you develop culture, and that's how you maintain culture. And like you just said, there's proof in the pudding that the retention rate, the people that started working with you are continually working with you. And I think that just reflects on your leadership, number 1, but also 2, what you're implementing as a leader. And I think that's valid. I think that's really nice to hear. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Well, my next question to you, and we're about finished here. I could ask questions all day. I enjoy talking with you. Because you've dealt with tech. You said you have experience in the tech world and technology, and with the whole startup infrastructure and how it works and functions. How and this question, I've asked a lot of agencies, is with the advancement of technology, okay, we've seen with generative AI, with all of these different types of tools, a lot of agencies are really, really scared out there, and I think even a lot of creatives are. And I've had these conversations even with our people, and I'm like, you don't need to be afraid. You just need to learn and adapt, and you need to be flexible, and you need to utilize these tools. But my question to you, Dax, is how does your agency, how are you preparing for the future? How are you preparing with the future, with the understanding that AI is a fad. Everyone thinks big. You got you got cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, you got all this, and then you got AI jumping out, so all this stuff. It's just a fad. But at the same time, I think we have to not be concerned, but be aware. So what is it that you guys are doing or not doing as an agency, or how do you feel about this, that other people could maybe pull from? Because I know you have a background in this, so I think it's a valid question to ask you because you have this type of experience.
Yeah, I've been using AI for quite some time now. I'm a champion of it. It's made my life so much easier. I encourage my team members to use it. We use multiple tools. It allows them to do more. It's supposed to make our lives easier, technology.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
So I've always been a big advocate of that.
That's good.
I'm really big on trying a lot of new technologies, but kind of spending more of my time in the ones that receive larger budgets.
Yep.
I think one story where Jasper, I don't know if you've heard of Jasper.ai. Yeah, they raised like $20 billion, or $20 million a couple years ago, and I've been working with Google. They're an Austin company.
Yeah.
Shout out. I actually know the chief marketing officer, former, and they were an agency. And so they were an agency that found a niche to create this copywriting AI tool and focused all in. I mean, marketing agency. Yep. And so, they kind of knew what to do, right? They started this Facebook group, and I was the first 100 people in that Facebook group. And they gave us all this tool for free, and it was marketers, entrepreneurs, these people that would want to use this tool. And they started this Facebook group so they could kind of get feedback. And I was like, okay, cool. And new tool, this AI stuff. OpenAI just launched. And so, or maybe not even yet. And so there was Jasper and the copywriting, and it was filling a void for us. And that Facebook group today is now over 70,000 people.
My goodness.
They built this Facebook group and gave these people this free tool and allowed it to grow.
Wow.
And then all those people started sharing their experience and their feedback and their issues and all that stuff. And as a SaaS company, Jasper, it was a different name back then, they were able to get so much accelerated feedback every day, all the time, from these people. And it was so awesome. And they would listen to us.
Wow.
And so it was like I was part of their team early on, and to see that evolution of just that product itself. And those guys have an exit and all those things, and it's wild. So I think that was kind of like an early eye-opener for me. And so now, I have copywriters on our team, and part of their job description is using certain AI tools, multiple, to do their job.
Yeah.
And so now I have a copywriter that is producing twice as much, 3 times, so on, using a tool that I get 3 seats for a pretty, because I have a grandfather pricing, because I was such an early adopter.
Yep.
So I really embrace it. It allows me as a small business to do more, have less overhead, and stay up with the times. And it's so important. As a technologist, I've always been passionate of computers. My mom worked at IBM, brought home some of the first personal computers with DOS and Oregon Trail.
Come on.
And so, that was instilled with me early on, but I'm always so interested in working at South by Southwest. Just accelerated because that company is so focused on what's next in the next 5 years. And so it's just like, I try to keep my finger on the pulse, or whatever that term is, and play around with these, technologies, innovation, and keep an open mind.
I love that.
And not be scared of it. And because if I'm ahead of it, I'll have a greater vision of, what's coming up.
That's so good. And I think you doing that due diligence, and this is what I was telling our team, is like you doing due diligence like this and not being afraid, but having that visionary mindset of, okay, I'm gonna maybe not take every single tool out there, because that's just straight overwhelming, right? Because there's so many out there. Okay. But like taking ones that really resonate with you, work with you, then utilizing them, and with that, I believe with that due diligence, you are doing good to your customers, because they deserve the best of the best. And don't look at these AI tools as like a crutch, but as an enhancer, as a co-pilot, whatever it may be, however you want to word it, so that way you can give the best of your best to your customers. And that's a really good viewpoint that you have of, not being afraid of this, but being early adapters, figuring out like what works for you, utilizing it, becoming more efficient over time. So that leads me to my last and final question, Dax. What would you tell yourself, let's say 15 years ago, if you go back in time, what would you tell Dax 15 years, go back in the future 15 years, what would you tell Dax based off of what you've learned so far from customer acquisition, new technology and advancements? You probably tell yourself, go do these tools before everyone else does. No, but not that. So what would you tell yourself, the 15-year younger you?
Man, I'd tell myself all the hardships, I guess. And just be ready for the ride. And, fill up your tool belt.
Come on, man.
With all the tools. And, because
that's
mental
good.
Health is so important.
That's good, man.
It's a long ride. Entrepreneurship. I consider myself a learned entrepreneur.
Yeah, me too.
I'll keep that one there. And, I think if I told myself all the lessons learned, I might be a little more prepared, and I guess I'd get a little farther ahead a little quicker.
Yeah, same here.
But actually, on the second, thinking about that, I want to change a thing. So I'd say, those lessons are so important.
It's so good.
But I'd say maybe, filling my tool belt, with kind of the personal stuff, like going on, taking, breaks periodically throughout the day, meditation or prayer.
Yeah, it's good.
Your jam is.
Yeah.
Just eating well and taking care of your body, just all that stuff is so important, because without this,
yeah, man,
none of that's going to happen.
You got it. So you got it, bro.
I think that's what I've really ramped up in the recent years. And with the stresses that are here today from all the world happenings, I think that's super important is, make sure you have a tool belt full of the tools that are going to, make you the best person that you can be.
So good.
Because that's going to make you the best person for your teams, for your families, for the world.
That's so good, man. I love that. I'll definitely take that to heart. Is just, make sure you got all the tools in your tool belt. That's deep, because when you get to building, I've built stuff before, and there's the worst thing is when you're on top of a ladder right? You're hanging from really high and you're like, oh, I gotta go all the way back down to get that screwdriver. I gotta go all the way back. And it just wastes so much time and effort. It's exhausting. So like if you learn those key principles, it's not just work more, but be able to work smarter. Like I said, take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health, spend time with your family if you have a family or close family or friends, whoever it is, and you see every single one of those things as tools and know how to use that tool. So I love that, Dax. That's really deep, and I think that's a great place to finish on. I think anybody that's listening, take that away from what Dax said today. Just, make sure you got your tools in your tool belt. Figure out what those tools are, because every tool is different from different people. Some are stronger than others, some are, and weaker in some areas, but nonetheless, figure out what that tool is. Take evaluations, just watch yourself. Like I said, keep a pulse on your mental health, keep a pulse on the finances, keep a pulse. Do what you got to do. So that you're healthy. Like what Dax said, if this isn't healthy, there's no way everything around you is gonna flourish. And agency owners, we want you to flourish. I believe Dax agrees with me. Like we need good business, healthy business owners out there today. Because if not, then who else is gonna do it? So, well, Dax, thank you so much, man, for giving me just a few moments of your day. I really do appreciate it. So before we go, how can people, how can they reach out to you? Whether, I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, if you guys are watching this, go to, pickledagency.com, check out that website. It's really nice. And I know you're updating it and stuff like this, but it's really nice to begin with. But how can people reach out to you or your team to get some, maybe more information, maybe some wisdom from you, if you're out there giving it? I don't know. You said you do some consulting, so let us know. How can they reach out to you?
For sure. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, on all social media, at Dax Patton, DAXPATTON. You can contact Pickled. Just go to pickledagency.com or contact@pickledagency.com. And don't hesitate to reach out.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dax. Have an incredible day. And everyone that's watching this, be on the lookout for Pickled Agency, where they're going, new development, and let's stay connected. Thank you so much, Dax. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.